WTP proudly presents the premier outdoor show in northeastern and central Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania Outdoor Life, your window to the great outdoors. Tonight on Pennsylvania Outdoor Life.
Susquehanna smallmouths in a Tuesday night lunker tournament. And we'll go back to the basics for some farm pond panfish.
Yeah. If you're ready to wet alive, Pennsylvania Outdoor Life starts right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pennsylvania Outdoor Life. I'm Don Jacobs, along with Ken Hunter, and we have chosen an absolutely gorgeous day to take the show on the road.
A gorgeous day and a gorgeous location. Look at that pond. Isn't that nice, huh?
Farm ponds. I think that people have underutilized farm ponds, and I think that really all you need to do is stick with the basics, don't you?
I think it is. Everybody wants to run off to a great lake, a great river, but you know, these are, like you said, one of the most underutilized fisheries in the state of Pennsylvania. And today, why don't we start with something really basic? You don't have to have anything fancy for this kind of fishing.
And you're talking basic as far as a worm, a grub, a shiner, right?
Sure, it could be any kind of bait you could find in your own backyard, including little red worms. We're going to be fooling around a little bit with some of this Berkeley Power stuff. There's little silver, gold nuggets,
fake
maggots,
grubs,
fake
maggots.
Fake grubs, fake maggots that are they're not real. That might be a plus for a lot of people. They don't want to handle the real ones.
They don't smell that bad. How would you set it up first?
Well, I'm going to start with a little tiny jig, which is nothing more than a little lead head and a little bit of rubber skirt there. But to give this a little more enticement, I'm going to grab one of these little maggots, these fake maggots, and I'm going to tip that with one of these little maggots, and just that'll make it a little more attractive.
Okay.
Now the thing is, you don't want to get so big that the bluegill can't get it in its mouth.
I think it could get that in its mouth, don't you?
I think. Now if it's too big, I'm going to break that in half and we'll try it again.
Now you're going to put a bobber on.
Yeah, then to that I'm going to add a bobber. And the reason is, a lot of these ponds, like the one here, we've got some weed growth back here, and if you don't put a bobber on, it ends up getting hung up down there in the bottom somewhere.
Okay.
So I'll slip a bobber on there, and that'll keep it maybe a foot or so beneath the surface. You don't have to get very deep here in a farm pond.
Okay, and while you're putting your bobber on, let me show what I'm going to do. I'm going to take it so basic, I didn't even want to bother with the jig, okay?
Yeah.
So I just put a number 8 hook. It could be a 6, a 10. I like 8 because if you do hook a big one, you can still get it out and release it. And a little split shot, and I'm going to use one of these little fake maggots, I guess you're calling them. Politically correct name is
People
spike
like the
anymore.
fake better than the real ones. I like the real ones too.
And I'm just going to dress this hook with just one for now. And if I see if it doesn't work, then I'll change it. And I'm just going to do that. And I also put a bobber about, what do you say, about 14 inches above it?
I'd
What
say
did
12,
you do?
14 inches. That's about it. And that's probably all we need. We might need to adjust it a little bit as we go along.
Well, you want to give it a crack?
I think we're ready.
All right, let's give it a crack here.
I saw a few of them getting a little active back here. Let's see what happens.
Now we're just going to cast these out and have at it, right?
Cast them out and let's see what shows up. See the bobber bouncing?
I love when that bobber dances like that, don't you?
Oh my. You never get tired of seeing that. He's just playing with it right now though. He's not popping it under. Now he's starting to run a little bit. Ah, there we go. That's a decent fish. Decent fish. Sure. He's almost the size one would put in a skillet. Little bluegill. I wet my hand first so I don't damage the fish, and I'm going to put him back in. Did you bring some kind of a secret bait with you, Jake?
Yeah, it's called Raid Ken's Tackle Box.
Well, what is in my tackle box?
Oh, there we go.
What is in my tackle box that I need to go get? That you got that I didn't find?
It was called Raid's Ken's Tackle Box, and this looks like a little bass too.
No, it's a bluegill. As soon as it hit the water, he had it.
Yep, little bluegill.
Oh, wait a minute. Now I'm getting a hit out there. Oh yeah, okay. I got a little one on here.
Maybe they needed to be out in a little cooler water.
We probably weren't fishing quite deep enough. He's down in those weeds. Oh, that's a nice bluegill. Yeah. There's what we're looking for. Nice, colorful bluegill. Look at that. That's a big one there. Look at the size. Boy, there's where they get their name right there, bluegill. Look at the size of that gill. Big and dark. Look at the pretty colors in here. What a beautiful fish. Dark. That's a pretty fish.
tell you what.
Well, I got to untangle this mess from the salad here.
Let's do this. Let's put this down and let's try catching a couple of these.
Different technique
in a different way. What do you want to do?
Yeah, let's. Well, do you want to try fly rod for a little bit?
Let's go get the fly rod.
All right, see how that works.
Okay. Well, that was sure fun.
Yeah,
I haven't
Jake.
used a push-button rod and reel in a long time.
We had some pretty good action there for a while.
We did. Now we're going to change to fly rod. This is one of your favorite little tools, right?
I love the fly rod. So let's change gears. I'll just drop that jig and bobber
What are we
down.
going to tie on now?
Well, I'll tell you what. I've already gotten mine hooked up here. I have a little yellow popper.
Okay.
We call popper. See little rubbery legs on there?
Yeah.
They hang down in the water and they kind of, you know, jiggle a little bit, makes it more enticing. Again, you don't want to get too big.
It's a dressed-up piece of cork, isn't it?
Yeah, that's all it is, with a couple of feathers on the back. Now, I have a whole variety of colors. There's white, there's a little orange one.
You want to try a different color for me?
Yeah, why don't we try two different colors? There's a little red and yellow one.
Okay.
It's nice. You know, pick one of those, and I'll go with this yellow. Maybe you pick a different color.
How about a white?
Yeah, white, or here's a little chartreuse. You might want to try that.
Okay.
And I have some bigger bass sizes in here, too, if we decide we want to. But, you know, I've had bass take these little ones, Jake.
And I love when they do.
We're all set. Well, if we go around the edge a little bit here, Jake, we've got some open space for our back cast.
Okay.
That'll make it easier for us, I think. Right there's two coming right underneath it, and yeah, he's going to take it. There it is. I watched him come right up and do it.
That's fun.
Too much competition. I think when he saw his buddies coming, he figured he better suck it in. This is a good bluegill, Jake. Nice one. Boy, he inhaled it. Now that's a pretty good sized fish. When you get him the size of your hand like that, that's a good fish. Nice bluegill. Boy, he inhaled it too.
I see a couple of them. I see a couple of them out there, like right there.
Oh, you got him.
I got him. I don't know what he is, but he's bringing salad.
You got something.
He's bringing salad along with him too, but
you got the salad, the main course.
that was a bluegill.
Bluegill.
It looked like a big bass underneath that
Yeah, it
when I
did.
was casting to it. It really did.
I don't think that is a bass, Jake, but take the bluegill anyway, huh?
Absolutely. There you go. And the quick release method.
Way to go, Jake.
We'll bring some salad up with this one too here. Lots of salad. Somewhere in this mess is a bluegill on the end of my fly. There he is. And we'll just give it a quick release here. And we've proven that we could take them on little spinners, on bobbers and bait and flies. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to change gears and go after some bass in the Susquehanna. So stick around. Welcome back to Pennsylvania Outdoor Life. We're just outside of the town of Montgomery, right? And we're along a farm pond here that we've caught some bluegills in, some largemouth bass, but they were smaller. Will you change gears if you hit the Susquehanna River?
We sure will, Jake, because we're going to be after bigger fish in tonight's piece that we're doing. We're looking for some smallmouth bass, hopefully in the 20-inch range. So I'll be using a bait caster quite a bit, but you can use a spinning outfit. And I'm going to switch to this kind of a thing right here, a lizard. And that's all the type of things that most of the tournament people will be using. Let's see how we make out in the tournament. Jim Neerhoff is my partner. Let's see who does the better fishing.
The first night they'll come up and they just fill out like their address and phone number. Basically, I just get their address. For next year, I do a mailing list, mail out to all the guys that fished the previous year. Due to the fact that we only get 20 permits, the guys that fished the year before get the first shot. And then I have a waiting list. So basically, that's it. I just get theirs and they pay their money and it's pretty simple. And on top of that, the first night they pay their $50, then it's $10 for optional if you want to get in lunker for the year, and then additional $20 each week after that.
So do you have any extras of those?
Yeah, here.
All right, let me start with one.
I'll tell you what, you start with one, and I'll leave my lizard on.
All right, I'll start with one of these. Teamwork. We each start with something different. Then whatever's working, we take it from the other guy.
Yeah. Why buy it when you can take it?
Well, here we usually go by numbers. What we do is wherever you're, like say you're in first place, you go out first. If you're in 10th, you go out 10th. Now up in Williamsport, the river's wider. When I go, they take off. I'll probably just send off like the top 5 guys from last year in order, and then the rest whenever they show up.
Well, Jim, it looks like the last boat just came in, so I suspect we're pretty well filled up here. We're probably going to be getting the signal to go about any time now, huh?
Yeah, I'm guessing it's just about time.
Looks like we have about 20 boats out here. That's just about what we're allowed to have, so like we're filled up. I imagine DJ will be giving us a signal any minute here.
That'll be some nice fish caught tonight, too.
We're going to head downriver?
Yes.
Which is what about 80% of the other boats are going to
I
do.
think so, too, yeah.
I'm going to do the same thing.
You might get 2 boats to go up.
Yeah, most of them will go down, I'm sure. Well, the water's high enough, we can do it.
Yeah.
5:47. We're going to fish till 9 o'clock. Everybody here has fished before. You all know the rules. See you then.
Got a little wet.
The water isn't bad. Actually, this water looks near perfect. Look at the color of that water.
I know.
And the height and the temperature is probably not bad.
This is a tough time to fish. Bass come off those beds and
Yeah, it is.
all stressed out.
A couple weeks from now, things will start picking up probably, but tough time. Now we're coming into some good water.
Mm-hmm. I will have a fish before we get to those trees down there. See that log down there? Watch.
Well, let's do it.
I'm working on it.
All right, I'll get the net. I'll tell you what, that's a legal bass.
Yeah, but it's not hooked very good.
Well, we need a legal bass in the boat right now.
Yeah, I know. Phew. I mean, it's not hooked it good at all. I'm gonna bring it right to you. Ready?
Yeah.
I think that's 12. I guess it is.
Close. Boy, he's bummed up.
Yeah, it looked like a muskie must have got him, huh?
Close. There's something had a hold of him. Tell you what, he fell right off.
Oh, I know. That's what I said.
All right. Well, he's legal.
Oh, yeah. Throw him in there.
He's legal. So
That's a start.
It's a start.
I think I made the comment I was going to catch a fish.
That's right,
before.
he did. It's a start, but we need to do a little more. I think it's a walleye. Too bad. It's a walleye. Not
Ken,
what
we're fishing for bass, Ken, not
No,
walleye.
what we're looking for.
That's not going to help us.
No, it isn't, is it? Good hit, though. Nice fish. It would have been a bass. Would have been reasonable. Would have been reasonable.
I think we found a little honey hole for a little bit.
Would have been. That doesn't count, does it?
No, sir?
There's a decent walleye, probably legal. Would have made a good eater, but we're not fishing for walleyes. We're after bass. So in he goes. They're starting to come up all over the place. We're out a little bit out of position.
Yes. And out of time.
And out of time. This is our last cast here?
Go ahead. I'm gonna start that boat up.
This is probably it. This is my last cast.
Just so we don't
We're
get
at the
sucked
tail end
into
of
the
this
rapids.
pool. We're getting sucked down into the rapids. The fish are starting to work, but it's too late. We got to get out of here.
The guys bring them to the scale. We make sure they're 12 inches, make sure they're alive, weigh the fish, then release the fish immediately.
We'll be lucky to get a pound out of this thing.
What's your name?
Ken and Jim.
109.
109. Tough night, boy.
First place was John and Chris. They had a fish that weighed 312. And second place was Mitch and Matt with 281. Good job, fellas.
Well, I want to thank my partner Jim Neerhoff for joining me tonight in the tournament. Also DJ and the other folks who were there fishing. If you want to get involved, there's lots of these tournaments in the area. They're called Lunker Leagues. You can probably find them in your own area. And they're just a 3-hour tournament, Jake. It's a very short tournament.
Bass clubs, local bait and tackle shops, a good place to find
Sure,
those.
it's a good place to take your son. Father's son can go and do this. It's 6 o'clock in the evening. You're home from work.
Well, I'm glad to see that you at least caught a couple of fish.
Yeah.
Well, now, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to have some of the trophies that you've sent us on Pennsylvania People and Places, so stick around.
Welcome back to Pennsylvania Outdoor Life. Of course, we're here enjoying some great pond fishing here in this gorgeous little setting, Jake. Yeah. Several ponds, in fact.
Farm
we
Pond
can enjoy.
USA, right?
I guess. Underfished, but boy, we gave it a workout today. And I want to thank the folks who let us come in here. Always ask permission to go to a pond and fish. These are private. And we're fishing on Danny and Karen Schnorr's pond, and they graciously provided all this for us tonight. This afternoon. I really appreciate it.
As long as you don't litter, most people will say
That's
yes.
right.
Yeah, now we're going to turn to that section we call Pennsylvania People and Places. And there's producer Brian Hollingshead. We are going to take a look at some of the photos that you have sent us both on the computer and through the mail.
Let's begin tonight's look at People and Places with 5-year-old Brianna Borish of Nesquehoning. Brianna was fishing with her Mimi and Pappy on a stream in Jim Thorpe when she caught these trout. By the way, they ended up on the grill for dinner. Nice going, Brianna. 3-year-old Elise Ann Evans of Brackney caught her limit of trout while fishing at Quaker Lake in Susquehanna County. Elise was fishing with her brother Zachary and her mom. Let's take a look at a few hunting photos. Joe Cranko of Old Forge is seen here with the spring gobbler he shot this past season. Joe tells us this monster was sporting a 10-inch beard. Nice going. Cody Lamoureux of Chase was hunting on his grandparents' farm in Harding when he shot this fine spring gobbler. This trophy bird was sporting 1-inch spurs and a 10-inch beard. Joe Stanek of Ashley shot his first deer on the opening day of last year's buck season. Joe is seen here with the 10-pointer he took while hunting in the mountaintop area with his father. Congratulations, Joe. Danielle Sands of Tunkhannock bagged her first buck this year. Danielle shot this trophy 10-pointer on the opening day with a 222. Nice going. And congratulations on your high school graduation. Bob Koslip of Muncie traveled to the Alaskan Peninsula to shoot this 9-foot Alaskan brown bear. Bob scored with this Bruin at 400 yards with 4 shots from his .338 Magnum. Now that's a bear. In our final photo for this evening, we prove that Pennsylvania Outdoor Life is really going to the dogs. Brian and Sandy Hammond of Kingston sent us this photo of Barney. They say he wants Ken's job when he grows up. And with this hat-wearing canine camera dog, we'll close another edition of Pennsylvania People and Places.
And just when you thought People and Places was over, we have one more photo. There's the one I just took. Producer Brian Hollingshead, who's done nothing but cry about how he's got to work with the camera today and not fish. Look at us. We've been sweating all afternoon. This is hard work.
Yeah, all he does is stand around with a camera.
With the camera on his shoulder.
Boy, oh boy.
I don't know. In fact, I'm going to erase that right now. There,
well,
it's gone.
Jake, with that, before he throws the camera at us, I think we better go to a break.
Welcome back to Pennsylvania Outdoor Life. No barrel, no giveaway today, but of course we're going to give you a little tip here. Ken, what's the difference with all these bobbers besides the brilliant colors and stuff?
There's a lot of them out there, you know.
They confuse people, don't they?
Basically, a bobber does two things. One is it'll support your bait high enough that it doesn't get hung up in the weeds, or it'll keep it at a level where you really want it.
Okay.
The other thing is it's a strike indicator. It tells you when there's something taking your bait. So those are two purposes they really serve, and of course they come in flashy colors, and they come in all sizes. Now for our bluegill fishing, we certainly wanted to stay with something this small. I have seen people try to use bobbers this big, but a bluegill would have an awful time trying to pull that under. So you want to adjust the bobber size to the type of fishing you're doing. Here's a clear bobber that's often used for people who like to use a spinning rod, and they'll fly fish with it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that way you don't see it as easily, but the fish don't, but you do. And here's just a different shape bobber. It's kind of a teardrop shape, but basically it does about the same thing. These are kind of a unique bobber. I believe it's called a teal bobber. I think it comes to us from Europe. Okay. And the nice thing about these is when you put them in the water, when you hook them up and rig them, you actually weight them so that this is weighted clear down into here, or actually you can weight it so that it pulls it clear down to the tip.
Okay.
And this is pulled under so very easily. It doesn't have to pop, the fish doesn't have to pop this big thing under. This thing just slides gently beneath the surface, and you know you have a strike. So it's very, very sensitive bobber.
But are we getting technical? Is it basically what works for you, what you like? Is that it?
Pretty much so. I use this an awful lot. That's my ice fishing bobber. It's my bluegill fishing bobber. If I'm going to fish a big minnow, I'll go to a bigger one. These are nice, though, if you're fishing really light-hitting fish like a crappie in 30 feet of water.
Okay.
This is a nice little thing to have because it takes so little to pull that under the water. So it is a nice thing. It's not a gimmick. It probably is a good idea to make the change when that happens.
But the key is you have to be fishing to use these. So
yeah, you got to be somewhere on the water. That's where they work best.
You got to get out there and fish.
Yeah.
We had a great day.
Oh, we did. We had fun using one of these little bobbers today. But
grab somebody. Grab somebody and get out there and do some fishing. For all of us here at WNEP's Pennsylvania Outdoor Life, that's it for this week. We wish you the very best in the great outdoors.
So long.
Pennsylvania Outdoor Life is a local presentation of WNEP TV. We're proud to serve northeastern and central Pennsylvania.
Catch the big ones.